Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Got my guy Josh in the building. Welcome, Josh. Thanks for joining me again. Before we get started, I do want to say rest in peace and condolences and prayers out to the victims of that tragedy in Wisconsin. Um, it was a holiday parade that somebody decided they wanted to drive through. I believe 5 deaths and over 40 injuries. So I definitely want to give prayers and thoughts out to them. Um, Horrible situation, and yeah, I hope these guys can heal and get better, and they deal with the guy the right way who committed these crimes, or woman. I don't know if it was a male or female, but definitely. So yeah, we back. I hate to start off like that, but it was on my mind, and I had to let it out. And we've been dealing with some nicks and bruises over the course of this season so far. Um, some good losses, some bad wins. Majority of the good wins are against real good teams or projected good teams, and some of these losses have been against competition that we think or we feel like we should have won. We should have won against. So lot of ups and downs so far as early. And my question to begin this show is chemistry. It seems to be like the chemistry has been an issue. Um, the identity of the team is in question. Um, what did you think the identity would be for this team coming into the season, and then has that wavered, and how close to reaching that ultimate identity do you think we are?
So first off, salute Tone, salute the chat out there, salute everyone out there. Knicks and Bruises, always a pleasure getting on. Um, so to answer your question, I thought this team's identity would be more offensive. I thought we would be score a lot of points. I thought our pace would be much higher. I thought the Knicks would put a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference on notice based on the amount of points that we score, and I thought that we would be able to put a lot of fear in teams because of our ability, a multifaceted offense that I expected us to have, and that just quite frankly hasn't been the case. Over the last few games, 6 games or 7 games or what have you, the defense has started to step it up a bit. I think it's a tale of two halves of the early part of the season. In the beginning of the season, we were scoring a ton of points, and defensively we struggled. We couldn't stop anybody. And then over the second half of this first part of the season, it's been all about the defense. We've been, holding teams to a really good number. Um, and our offense has been struggling. We're still trying to put the offense together. So right now, I just think it's a tale of two different sections of this first part of the season. But right now, I think I would say that our identity is defense. We're not the best defensive team, but I think right now our identity is defense. And we're gonna hold teams to a reasonable number offensively.
I agree with you 100%, Josh. I think right now our identity is defense. I think ultimately with Tibbs being our coach, that has to be our identity. Oh my gosh. Um, I thought that coming into the season, I thought defense would have had to have been the first priority for this team for us to be successful. Um, but I also did think the offense would be a lot better than what we've seen so far. We were on earlier with Sim, nothing but Nick. Shout out to Sim. And we were talking about the chemistry between Julius Randle and Kimber Walker in particular. Um, and I think we've seen improvements, a lot of improvements, as of late. Um, so I got a comment and a question because I didn't really get to talk too much about yesterday's loss. So I do want to include that in today's talk. Um, why do you think the Bulls' chemistry seems to be so good for the start of the season? But before you answer that, I'm gonna tell you why I think they look so good so far.
Okay.
Um, and the number one thing for me with them is they determined a pecking order. You know what I mean? Like we questioned whether their chemistry would be good, especially for the start of the season, with the new additions. But I think the fact that Levine, whether it was Levine or the coach or whomever, or just a group decision, but the fact that the Zach Levine has decided to let DeRozan be the number one option and he be the second option, and accept that role from the jump. I think that's the main reason why they've had this early success. Um, and it could be the coaching because if you notice, um, he doesn't seem to leave both of them off the floor at the same time. When one is out, the other one's in. They may play about 5 minutes in a game without either one of them on the floor. Um, but that pecking order, you know, it was established before the season, and they seem to be okay with it and rocking with it. They know who the number one option is, who the number two option is, and you could argue that Levine is the best player on that team, but the fact that DeRozan, a proven veteran, a guy who kind of established a facilitating role the previous year, um, they're letting the offense get run through him for the most part, and I think that's the reason. What are your thoughts on that? And then I'm gonna correlate it into New York.
So for me, I look at the Chicago Bulls, and the first thing that jumps out off the screen um, at me is the fact that they have two guys who are extremely dynamic, right? Like you said, the coach Billy Donovan staggers them. Whenever he doesn't have one of them on the floor, someone is always out there. But when they're playing together at the same time, you can see that they both can take one side of the court and operate offensively on one side of the court. They don't have to play off of each other. They can create and be dynamic for themselves on one side of the floor. So I think that's number one. And then number two, they have a player like Lonzo Ball who kind of brings it all together. I was really worried about Lonzo Ball's facilitating ability in the offseason. That's why I wasn't a big proponent of going to get him. I wanted DeRozan, though. I didn't want Lonzo Ball because I was unsure about that part of his game, and he proved me wrong. Flat out, he definitely proved me wrong. He's definitely someone that definitely looks to get other people involved. His 3-point shot has definitely improved. It is a strength of his game. I think they're really strong at the point guard position, really, really strong. And the last thing I want to say about them is they have guys who do the little stuff right, the intangibles, right? Alex Caruso is an underrated player. I think Alex Caruso can defend. Alex Caruso can knock down some clutch shots when you need him to knock down those shots. And I think all of that contributes to why the Bulls have been, have some continuity this early in the season. So I'm definitely attributing it to that.
Yeah. And
Even
minus
without Vucevic being there.
and minus ball, they all have had some type of success in the NBA. Maybe not winning it all, but
Right.
playoff success, experience. Caruso did get a ring, right?
Yes, with the Lakers.
So yeah, so
Mhm.
he got one, but So that goes a long way as well. Um, that's one thing I think we're missing as far as this team, and you know, it goes back to that patience that we're gonna need as fans because a lot of these guys haven't had the success in the league. A lot of these guys are really learning through trial and error. Um, so it's a process for them long term to reach where they're going to be ultimately, playoffs included. Um, you know, first step for these guys. Um, but yeah, so the identity, I agree. Defense is what it's going to have to be for us to sustain success or even reach our peak success. Um, and then the offense, let it come as it comes. And we'll see how that goes. Shout out to the chat, Real King in the chat, Sam Hoyt. I see you guys. Salute. appreciate you. Um, yeah. Um, so we did see a lot of positives in that loss yesterday. I do want to talk about some of the negatives. And I do want to talk about your take on I won't even say Mitchell Robinson in itself, but the small ball and maybe the necessity you think it has become for us. I'll let you take the lead on this, and I'll chime in as you go.
So for me, listen, I think the best offensive lineup out there for the New York Knicks has to be Julius Randle at the five. I think the floor is just so much more spaced out with Julius Randle at that position. If you look at the game yesterday, there were so many open opportunities for Julius Randle in the paint, whether it be on pick and roll, whether it be the give and go he did with Kemba, whether it be Julius Randle setting up in the paint to be able to get some easy buckets at the rim. And I totally like that lineup. Not only does it have Julius Randle able to isolate and one-on-one and be his guy 100 majority of the time, but also you have those open lanes for RJ Barrett to get to the rim. I know he missed some easy shots at the basket, but I think those will come over time. I think the pick and roll game is there when you have Julius Randle at the five, because in that starting lineup he is the best screener, right? I think Kemba Walker, that opens up some lanes for Kemba Walker whenever he can be his man off the dribble, and it just gives us something else if the 3-point shot isn't falling. A lot of times when you have Mitchell Robinson out there, you have Julius Randle or whomever running a pick and roll, they have to settle for that jump shot. And if they're not hot, um, sometimes the jump shot can look like a bad shot. You know what I mean? Like it's not a good shot early in the shot clock or what have you. And then we just continue to lean on that. And then that's why you have guys go, 2 for 19 or, shooting 20 or 20 something percent from the field. So, my big thing is I want the Knicks to score some more points in the paint. And I think with the floor being opened up so much, I think that we can be able to do that by getting some more points in the paint. Mitchell Robinson's not going to be a threat down there, in my opinion. I get it. He's there for second chance points, but he's not that good of an offensive rebounder. So I just think that it's better for our whole team if we have, a small ball lineup offensively.
But not necessarily to start. Or are you saying
It's a
you
possible
you
for me.
you,
For me,
you
I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. I think now the reason why we've seen it so much, and I think it's actually been a blessing and a curse, is because Mitch and Noel have been fairly inconsistently healthy. You know what I'm saying? I think Tibbs had to go with that lineup because he had to, and I
mm-hmm.
think it's worked out. I think Tibbs is honestly seeing something in that small ball lineup offensively, and I think he realizes that it's not as bad as a defensive lineup as he thought it would be. So, I mean,
Yeah,
as of right now, I don't want. I'm sorry, Tony, I don't want to make any changes in the starting lineup right now. But moving forward, I would like to see that lineup. If things don't continue to go well, I want to see that lineup on the floor a lot more.
I mean, I could agree with that 100%. I wouldn't change the starting lineup only because I think as a starting unit that you're gonna rock with, for the remaining 40 something games. I think it becomes too much of an liability during the game, like or to start the game, where as opposed to as a change of pace or changes, something to switch it up. I think it could benefit more times than not. It's giving the offense something or the defense something to think about on the fly, as opposed to something to game plan for. To start every game. But I definitely like what I see in the small ball unit. I definitely like the defense. I think the defense has been a surprise. Um, and it's not even about shot blocking. I mean, I wish we had a little bit more of it with that unit. But the perimeter defense, the switching, the keeping guys out of position, or stopping them from getting all the way to the rim, I definitely love. You've seen a little bit of little bit of rim protection from Obi. I think he's, I mean, in terms of last year, he's taken a large leap. You know what I mean? But just as a player, he's been pretty decent. In that area. Um, what do you think? All right, we talked about a little bit of the Kemba Walker Julius thing. What are your thoughts on the Fournier situation right now? He's been struggling as of late. He had 2 games ago where I think he did get the fourth quarter minutes. Actually,
Yeah,
he played in the fourth quarter last game as well.
yeah,
Did RJ come in the fourth quarter at all last game?
yeah. He was on the floor because of his defense and his rebounding.
In the fourth?
In the fourth quarter, he was out there.
Oh, okay. Because at some point I remember thinking like, where is RJ in the fourth quarter? And Fournier was in. Um, but what are your thoughts on Fournier's performance? As of late, what he needs to do to turn it around. Um, is it him? Is it more of a conscious effort that needs to be put in trying to find him?
Right.
What are your thoughts on Fournier right now?
So this one is, it seems easy, right? Fournier is not playing well. Let's just call it what it is. It seems very easy, but Ethan and the Blue Orange Tears chat that we just were in. Salute to Ethan. Salute to Blue Orange Tears. Salute Freezy. He
JJ.
pointed out something. He pointed out something very interesting, and he said that Kimball Walker and Evan Fournier are more motion players. The Knicks don't really run motion that well. Julius Randle doesn't have a good IQ to run motion. But I think even with that, I think the role that Evan Fournier has right now, he's been getting open shots. I mean, the ball has been there for him. He's been wide open. The give and go with Randall's been there. He's just not being able to convert. And I think his shot's just not falling. He's just right now very, very cold. I don't know what the issue is. It seems to me like the shots are in rhythm that he's taking. But I just don't see really see Evan Fournier putting the ball in the hole. Say again?
He needs to get going before he starts taking some of the shots that he's taking. And I'm not blaming the shots because, like you said, he's getting open looks and good looks, but and they're in rhythm. But a lot of those shots are rhythm shots that if you're not in rhythm as far as the game, not necessarily in taking the shot, but just in the rhythm of the game, then the chances of you making it are slimmer. Um, I just think he needs to get hot, especially like these threes. He gets a lot of open threes, but a lot of them it just seems like they come randomly. They're not they like if he was already hot, they would look like beautiful shots, or he would probably make a larger percentage. But they're always at like crucial moments. You know what I mean? Like we, it's almost like put him in a position to fail if that makes sense.
So I
Um,
don't, but Tony, I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like the Knicks have made a concerted effort to get Evan Fournier involved early in the game. He's just not knocking down shots, and I don't know how do you get someone involved in the offense without getting them involved, so to speak. I want to see Evan Fournier
well,
just not
part of that, I agree. They've been trying to find him, but it's only at the 3 point line. It's only 3 point shots. What I'm saying is find him something easy. You know what I mean? Like get him going, something cutting to the rim, a backdoor play, something of that nature, just to get him going early. See the ball
right.
go in for his first shot. They are, especially Randall. He's focusing on trying to get him shots, and he's getting the shots, and they're open shots. But it seems to be only at the 3 point line, and I think he's more talented than that, more valuable than that.
Well, Tone, if he is, I feel like he needs to use it. I mean, listen, you can't depend on the coach. You've been in the NBA. I'm talking about Fournier. He's been in the NBA for a very long time. He's a veteran on this roster. You know what I'm saying? If you see something, you feel like you need something to happen. Either you let the coach know, or you just go out in the court and do it. Like there's a lot of times where people are standing around watching Julius Randle dribble the ball. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? No one wants to cut. So I think a lot of that is on him. Like he has to, be more active in the offense. Like, there's only so much. Like, what can you tell the coach or tell anybody watching the game if you're wide open and you're missing open jump shots? Like, you have to be able to make something happen, coming off curls or just going back door, something. Like, I feel like, Evan Fournier's been around the NBA for a long time. He should know when to do some of those things. So I think a lot
I
of it is
mean,
on him. I think a lot of it is on Evan Fournier. And I really don't know what else we can do. I don't think changing up the starting lineup is going to help that either. I don't think putting him with the second unit is going to help that, in my opinion.
I don't think I think he's more suited for the first unit. 100. If I'm making a move, it's Noel and Mitch. I'm swapping those two as far as starter and bench row. Um, but back to Fournier. I think you can't just cut. You know what I mean? You have to read the play to make a cut. But
Absolutely. Yep.
if a play can be designed for you to cut. So that's the difference. Like he can't just do it. Like I think he does cut when the opportunity is there, but I think a set play designed to get him going early, um, and I just haven't seen that. I've seen it for RJ. I've seen set plays when he's struggling that are designed for him to get an easy basket or designed for him to get a basket in his comfort zone. You know what I mean? Or doing something he is accustomed to doing. I haven't seen that aspect of it. Uh it only seems to be 3-point shots that they making a conscious effort in in going in trying to get Fournier open.
Well, I mean, Fournier is not the best at the rim throughout his career. He's not the best player at the rim. He's a shooter. He's always been a guy who can be able to shoot the ball from long range. Like, I mean, he's not a sniper or anything like that. But Fournier is not someone that's a threat to score on the paint. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand what you're saying about trying to get him easy opportunities, but for me, I don't think anything else would be, more easy than him having wide open jump shots, not just at the 3-point line, but he's missed mid ranges. He's just been bad, Tony. I mean, I just don't know what to say about him. I mean, hopefully he can turn it around. I mean, the wide open opportunities, that's something that you're hoping can happen. But right now, it just doesn't look too good for Evan Fournier.
Even, or even his bad, and I'm only speaking. Excuse me, Ron. Thank you for joining us.
Still Knicks fans in the building.
That's a fact.
What's up,
Um, even as bad as he's been, and I'm only speaking offensively. I don't think he's been RJ bad. You know what I mean? Like even with his bad numbers, like he's still averaging 12. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I think RJ's slump has been kind of worse than his offensively. RJ is doing other things that has kept him on the floor and kept him worth staying on the floor. But so I don't think he's necessarily been bad, but I think he could be a lot better. You know what I mean?
For $18 million, he definitely has to be better. There's no
Or
question about it.
he has to be.
Yeah, there's no
Ron, what
question
do you
about it.
think? What do we need to do to help Fournier out, or are you more of what Josh is saying, where he needs to help himself out? You know what I mean? Like it's on him to do it.
Um, I think I'm partially with Josh. I think he needs to help himself out. I think we've started to try to do things to make him feel more comfortable lately. There's been different things. The two-man game with him and Julius. I think some of the team has been making a more of a concerted effort to get him the ball. I don't know if they know his spots or what he likes, but I think they're trying. But I think that I'm at the point now where I'm like, I think Fournier needs to be on that second unit.
Mm.
I just feel like with his European style of basketball and the fact that that second unit moves the ball a lot better, they're a lot more fluid. I think that gives him at least a better sense of what he's used to. And not for nothing, but if Fournier is used to being the man, on teams, he could be the man on the second unit. Like they could kind of run the ball through Fournier, and it won't be like Randall, because Fournier is a much more willing passer. He's just used to that type of game. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that makes a lot of sense. I think that gives that second unit the punch that they're looking for, and they still got that explosiveness and the other things with quickly and I think that'll make them look good.
And
And
who's
it'll
starting Burks
Burks. I would put Burks in the starting lineup. Yeah, and put
at
Burks at
the
the
at the
three. No, at the three, and put RJ at the two. Because I'm concerned about Fournier. I swear I didn't think about this at all until you guys started talking about it yesterday, and it just clicked in my head. Like I didn't think about the fact that Fournier is used to being the man, and maybe he's not ready to acquiesce in this current Knicks system. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he has been acquiescing. Like
Acquiesce. Yeah.
he hasn't tried to be the man in this situation. If anything, I would argue that maybe he should try to be the man. like and that would actually that would fit more with your point, Josh, of it being on him than it, you know what I mean, being on plays being ran for him. Um, but I mean, and I agree with you. Ultimately, I think they have been making a conscious effort to look for him, but I just think it's only been behind the 3 point line, like like the same way we've seen. We've been waiting to see Randall actually get some easy baskets, and we seen it last night. You know what I mean? I think I want to see Fournier get some easy ones, um, and not necessarily rely on a three.
Right,
Here's
right,
here's how I feel about that, and I'm not directly opposed to it, right? Because it makes sense. They play more of a European style of basketball. They move the ball better in the second unit, right? So here's some reasons why I would argue against it. One, you can say that about anybody, putting anybody in the second unit because the way they move the ball, things of that nature, right? To get anyone going, you can say the same about RJ. You can say the same about Kemba. You can say that about anyone. That's number one. Number two, I think the problem with Evan Fournier right now is he's just not knocking down shots. And if that's the issue, then I don't think that it would help to put Burks in there. I know Burks is hot right now, but there could be a period of time where Burks goes cold, and then you back to the same square one. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I just feel like just let it cook a little bit, leave him in there. I know it's a little political because Burks just got, Fournier just got paid $18 million a year. But at the same time, I'm just not ready to make the move for Fournier yet because I still want to see a little bit more. I want to see how the Knicks are going to play with the small ball lineup. I'm going to see if the small ball lineup can open up Fournier a little bit, Fournier and RJ and those guys a little bit more. Halfway into the season, if we're still talking about the same things, I think there has to be some type of move that's made. But I think for right now, I'm not ready to make the move yet. I still think it's way too early in the season. And I think that we don't necessarily solve a problem by putting Alec Burks in a starting unit because really it's all about Fournier missing open shots. And if Burks had a period of time in the beginning of the season when he was missing open shots, the shots that he's normally used to making. Right. So I think if it's just about that, I wouldn't do it yet. But I can kind of see the other side of the coin.
well,
The question, or to me, the deciding factor would be if you feel Burks is the better defender, and
yeah, well, yes, he is.
especially against starting unit guys and not second unit guys. But if you feel
That's
that,
true.
then I then I have no argument against it. Um, and it seems like Tibbs has been opening up uh not only the offense but maybe even some of his offensive philosophy. We're seeing him tinker with rotations a little more than he did last year. And I think that's a credit to him. Um, so you never know. I still think it's unlikely that he changes the starting lineup because
Stubborn.
he is stubborn, but his rotations and things of that nature have been a little flexible as of late.
Right.
Maybe that's him working on who's gonna move to situational and this and that. Maybe it's that, but credit to him. Shout out to the chat. Big Beans in the chat. CT Streets is buzzing. Salute to you.
Salute
Canal
CT.
Band. Pudge Nice. JJ. Salute. Appreciate you guys. Um.
Tony, could I just step back in and go back to
Yes, sir.
what Josh said? Um, yeah, I agree with you. It's true that you could basically say that for anybody in the starting lineup outside of Randall, um, that they can all benefit from playing with that second unit. But the way I'm looking at it is differently because no offense to these other guys, but if Evan Fournier is playing right, he's better than everybody else in that starting lineup outside of Randall. Because RJ is can has shown flashes, but it's flashes. He hasn't been consistent. But in what I've noticed from Fournier is that when he gets going, he's streaky, and he can lead you for a few games with them streaks. But I just think that if you put him in a situation where it's not just about 3 point shots, just moving the ball, that constant movement, the back screens, the ability to get him in the paint where he can do the Euro steps, the stuff we have not seen him do a Euro step yet with the Knicks, and I used to see him do it all the time. Like it's just that level of comfortability that if you get him going in that second unit, I'm telling you, I know it sounds far fetched right now because he's missing so many shots, but I just think his confidence is not right with that first unit. I don't think he's digging
See,
it.
I feel the same way, but I feel like if you get him going in the first unit, it changes everything.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, he'll be knocking down his shots. I think a lot of the stuff about the offense that we talk about is, we won't be talking about if these guys are knocking down their shots and we putting up 110 points per game. But I think that's the issue. Guys are just open. RJ missing wide open layups, and I mean it's been the story of the season. Literally the story of the season.
But
Guys missing open shots.
historically he's been more than just a 3-point shooter.
Who's
Right.
And
that?
that Fournier, that's the issue that I'm having. Like that's what I mean. We got to get him going. We need to find something routinely that's a easy play for him. You know what I mean? The same way we've done for Barrett, the same way we've done for some other guys when they're not going, we go to a play that we know, and maybe they haven't figured that play out yet. Maybe that's where he needs to speak up some and say, I like the ball here because I know I got four options, three excuse me, three options from this position, as opposed to making him live and die with that 3-point shot. I don't like it when we play like that as a team, and I don't like it when an individual player is relied upon to live and die off that three. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's my problem with Fournier, and I don't even know if it's him or the the coaching staff.
Well, I think this NBA right now, man, they're a little messed up in their mentality of what's good basketball. This whole everything around the 3-point line is to me, I'm not a big fan. I'm an old school guy. Like even in baseball, I'm like there's all about the home runs. I much prefer the guys who used to hit high with high averages. Like I
Still
just like good,
bases.
yeah, I like good baseball. So
Right.
my thing is just as a shooter, I mean, I'm not an NBA player, but I would think if a 3-point shot is what I've been doing and I've been missing, why don't I take some twos? Let me hit my, as long as it's a jumper and you see it going in the
Mm-hmm.
rim, I think it builds your confidence. And then you could pull it back out and start getting to the 3-point line again. But wouldn't it be nice to hit some mid ranges just to get your game flowing? That's what I'm missing here.
And I agree, but do you think that onus is on him? Because it seems like the plays that are being ran for him are from that area. You know what I mean? Like and they will run a plays. It may not work. And when I say not work, like not that he missed a shot or something, but he's not in a good position. He'll give it back to Randall, and they'll run the same play again, where what I mean, like backdoor cut, like don't make they kind of making it easy for people to defend him, in my opinion.
Right.
Like when they pigeonhole him into that 3-point shot.
No, that's a
So
good
I mean,
point.
I don't know. I haven't lost faith because, like Josh says, he's really just missing shots, and a lot of those shots are open and are good shots. But I just think like we really got to find something to get him going and get him let him see the ball go in the hoop, and then you go back to those threes. You know what I mean? But let him see one go in and get that confidence.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like he's not getting it done. Point blank, plain and simple. I just don't think Evan Fournier is playing good basketball right now, and I think it's on him. He's a veteran. We didn't sign him at $18 million, so he can be out. He can go out and play the type of basketball he's playing right now. I think he needs
I
to
mean,
step it up. Point blank.
you're ultimately right because if it had it been Randall and when it was Randall, you know what I mean. He was getting all the comments, you know what I mean, and they weren't good comments. And the chat and Knicks Nation has been fairly easy on him. I haven't seen a speck of the disrespect that Randall got being said towards Fournier. Um, so I will say that. So I don't think it's like unwarranted or hate or anything of that nature. I think everybody's opinion has been fair of him. Um, but I expected more, and he definitely needs to play better. Um, any
I
other
would
any other?
Tony. I would say this. I think Fournier is shooting more threes. you know, not necessarily the threes themselves, but out of the amount of shots he's taken more threes than more twos than he normally takes for the amount of shots that he takes per game. I will say that. Um, but I still think it's on him to try to get in, try to get inside a little bit more, maybe try to dribble drive a little bit, use the pick to drive to the basket a little bit more. I know he's not the fastest guy, but he has to find other ways to get his shot open. A veteran scorer like that, I forgot the term that they use for scorers, professional scorer, so to speak. I feel like he has to find other ways to score the basketball, in my opinion.
I mean, I agree, and hopefully it's not. I mean, hopefully it is him, because that's a better, easier fix than it being the offense. It being because a lot of it looks similar. Like it looks, he's getting the same shots Bullock was getting. You know what I mean? Like he's just not making them. So it kind of looks
Right.
like some of the same offense, some of the same plays. He looks incapable. He looks like like he's not as advertised when it comes to playing off ball movement, or putting the ball on the floor. You know what I mean? We only seeing a couple of times spurts where he's done it and made a, made a good play. But for the most part, I feel like he's just been pigeonholed into that role. And ultimately, I do think he will be successful at it if he adjust. He can adjust and become. But I think we can use him better.
I agree.
I agree with that too.
Um, I mean, we spoke about Kimber Walker and Julius Randle's chemistry kind of coming along on MBK earlier, Ron. Um, I don't know if you saw the video, but what are your thoughts on that? Have you noticed? Have you seen it? And then ultimately, where do you think they could reach, or are there still the same level of concerns for Kimba at this point?
Right,
That's maybe
right,
a week
right,
ago.
right. Yeah, 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 no, I know. No, unfortunately, I didn't see it. I was actually at work, and I was actually working, so I missed it. But um, I will say that I think uh, I like what I saw, at least what I've been seeing these past two games, and seeing a lot more of it last night. I really liked the way they was trying to move. I liked Kimba, the way he was moving in particular. There was definitely moments where he tried to get to the lane, and he was very aggressive about it. So I do like that. My only concern is just his health, man. I worry about the fact that now that he's pushing harder on the knees and trying to make cuts and get to the lane, that he's just exerting more energy and is more physical on the knees. But other than that, I like it, and I think that that's what we need to see. If we keep seeing some of that from Kimba, I'm not saying he's got to even go even extra with it. Just showing us what he did show us. If he continues to do that, right, and then something happens a little bit more with the ball movement, because no matter what's going on, these little nice plays that we've been seeing the Knicks do, they look great. But guess what? Knicks still finished with 16 assists for the game, so they're still not moving the ball. For whatever reason, these guys are not passing the ball as
Mm.
fluently as they should. Now I
It,
know that some of those passes don't translate because people are missing shots, so it's not an assist if you don't hit the shot. But
Right.
the ball movement just doesn't seem the way it should be. It's a lot
I,
missing.
you know what it is though? It's the ball. I think the ball movement is there. I think one is not crisp. You know what I mean, and that makes a huge difference. Sometimes the pass is made, but it's made a half a second or a second too late. That changes things as well. So I think it's still a work in progress. I actually definitely like the ball movement that I've seen as of late. Past maybe 5 games, and that's as a team. Um, it's just has I think it's more of converting and just being a little bit more crisp with the pass. But I think the effort for the pass is there. I think at peak we should at least average 25 assists as a team, at least. You know. So
So
I think we could reach that.
I don't know if we're going to be able to reach that this season. I think, I was a little bit more confident about that in the preseason and at the beginning when the ball was kind of moving around. You've seen, Thibodeau or the Knicks kind of running plays, kind of similar to what Golden State was doing, or like a San Antonio Spurs kind of offense. But I just don't think it's been there. I think our pace has definitely slowed down a bit. I don't think we are capable of reaching 25 assists, not just because of the lack of shot making, but we're just our pace and our tempo is just so slow. The ball tends to stick when it goes to players, and I think it's a necessity right now. I think it has to be that way. Guys are, something about this first unit is just not. They're just not together. They don't move the ball that well. So I don't think we're
I mean,
going
but
to get 25 assists per year.
you don't think maybe we could do around 22 assists because we've hit that 22 number a
Mm-hmm.
few different times. I think we could
Mm-hmm.
get around that amount.
Well, right now the Knicks are averaging, what is it? Let's see. I think they are averaging 22 assists, 21.9. So we're
Yeah.
averaging 22 assists, right? We're averaging 22 assists right now. You know what I'm saying? Golden State leads the NBA at 29.3. So 22
So
is fine, but to average
three more,
25, yeah, but
three.
you gotta think about that. Think about the teams who are, who are averaging, 25 assists. 25 assists is Memphis right now. That's fifth in the NBA. And from number 1 to number 5 is 4 assists. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So there's a lot of teams in between Memphis and us, to hit those assist numbers. I mean, I guess you can make the argument that, yes, we can do that, but I just don't see it. Not the way this team is moving the basketball right now. I don't think that's going to be something that this team is going to be able to hold up for the rest of the season.
And I will say that a lot of those, I can't pull it up because I'm on my phone, unfortunately, but I know a lot of those higher assist games we had were earlier in the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Drip more salute. Appreciate you. I like that name.
Yeah.
Um, any other concerns with the starting unit? I know me and Josh have semi-similar beliefs in the center position and what kind of changes should be made. Um, I think we both agree that Noel should ultimately maybe start, or at least that's my thoughts on it. Um, what do you think, Ron? Do you like rocking out with Mitch as the starter, or do you think Noel should ultimately end up starting?
Um, I've kind of been saying it since the offseason. I don't like necessarily having Mitch as the starter. I think Mitch can still be able to play around starter minutes on the bench. I think Noel is what we saw what Noel can do with those starters last year. And Noel's physical presence, the way he moved, Noel's just listen. I know there's still people that don't like Noel for whatever reason, but let me tell you, I like what Noel does. Sometimes he takes too many chances, but he's the type of guy that will be such a rim protector that he gives that presence. You think, okay, we can't go up on him. We got to get around him. You go around him on the baseline. He tries to poke the ball. He gets the ball away from you. He gets these ticky tack steals. Like outside of the fouls, he does. Sometimes he wiles out, but when he's playing well, he pretty much controls the foul thing. But his hands are so active, and I can't tell you how many times he's gotten a steal, a big steal for us when we needed it. We
Mm-hmm.
don't get that from the center position. I
Mm-hmm.
like Noel, man. I like Noel, and if it was up to me, it would be Noel, Randall, Fournier. I'm putting Fournier in this lineup
At
because of other changes. So it would be Noel, Randall, Fournier, RJ, and Quickly. That would be my starting lineup.
Fournier at the three is what you're saying.
Fournier at the three. Yeah, I mean
I agree.
that.
I
Yeah,
agree
that's
with
what I
that
would
too.
do.
We're on the same page with that 100%, Ron. Um,
And I don't know why we haven't seen Fournier at the three yet. I'm still confused. I thought that's why we brought him in here to play both positions.
yeah, and Tibbs will tell you it's interchangeable. It's interchangeable, but
Yeah, where's the
he has
interchangeability?
he hasn't
Let me see
changed it
it.
yet. I
Well,
agree. I agree.
here's the thing. I don't think it necessarily matters putting RJ Barrett at the 3 or Fournier at the 3. I think both of them are not that good defensively as far as they're both slow. Both of them are slow footed. I get RJ Barrett's the better guy, Better than Evan Fournier, but both of those
I
guys are
don't.
slow.
I think RJ's just stronger. I don't know if he's better. When I say that, I'm talking about guarding the 6'7", 6'8", small forward. You know what I mean?
Well,
I
that's what I'm
think I
saying.
got.
That's why RJ Barrett's been playing the three. That's why he's there and Evan Fournier is at the two. I think if you put RJ Barrett at the two, you're going to have faster shooting guards getting around him. So I think it doesn't solve the problem, so to speak. I think what Tibbs is saying about them being interchangeable, I think that's absolutely correct because it just depends on the matchup that day.
who
Um,
who who's who do you think is the fast two guard that is gonna give Barrett the trouble?
James Harden.
We've seen that matchup. I'll take it. I'm not saying he's gonna stop James Harden, but I'll take. I like that matchup. I've seen RJ play
I don't. I don't
great
like that.
defense.
I don't like that matchup at all. I think RJ Barrett is not a fast guy. He's going to get beat off the dribble with faster two guards. That's the problem he was having last season. And that was the problem he was having the season before that. I get it, first and second year and all of that, but I think the issue with the Knicks is both of those guys are not superb defenders. I get RJ Barrett's a little bit better, but both those guys are not superb. You don't solve the problem by putting RJ Barrett at three, and because technically they're supposed to be interchangeable, like Tip said. And I think it's really dependent on the matchup. As far as the starting lineup is concerned, yes, I would like to see Nerlens Noel over Mitchell Robinson. I want to see Mitchell Robinson in that second unit. But for me, I just would rather go with the small ball lineup. If I had to make any changes at this point, I would bring Obi into that first unit and have Randall rock out at the five. I think offensively, we're very, very strong there. I think that's our best offensive lineup, and defensively, I think it's a work in progress. But defensively, we're not giving up too much with that lineup.
You do that. Does that mean Nerlens is playing the four in the second unit?
I would have
Is that what that means?
I would have I would give Nerlens some minutes there at the four in the second unit. I would do that,
And Mitch's
or make
minutes
it
are diminishing at altogether.
I would just make it kind of a rotation. I would put Mitch at, because people look at the starting lineup in the second unit and put them out there all together. I think Tibbs needs to do a better job of rotating his players and rotating those guys out there. It doesn't have to be the full starting lineup when you come out of halftime. Let's mix some minutes up. And I think, if it comes down to it, I would reduce some of Mitch's minutes. I mean, he's literally a liability on the floor offensively. He just is. And I think Nerlens Noel at this point is a better defender. So yeah, I would diminish some of Mitch's minutes, unfortunately.
Mm.
It's a tough sell just for the start. I like them playing more together, but not in the starting lineup. I think it becomes too much of a liability uh vertically for the majority of teams. You know what I mean? And I like that unit coming in as a change of pace, and or as a a fix it unit, if need be, or even if it becomes part of the rotation. But I want it to be strategic. I want it to be used to our advantage at all times. I don't want it to ever become a liability to us.
So Tone, so you say that you want it to be a change of pace lineup, you want it to kind of be like a curveball, so to speak. But think about it. The only difference in that lineup is Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is the only difference. You're telling me Obi Toppin, putting in Obi Toppin for Mitchell Robinson is a curveball to opposing teams? I wouldn't call it that. I just think that I think the real curveball is putting the man quickly out there, Derrick Rose. To me, that's the curveball. I think that's more of a curveball than just subbing out Mitchell Robinson for Obi Toppin.
Oh, you're saying the effects to the second unit, not the effects to the starting unit.
Well, when you mentioned curveball, I was talking about that part of it. A curveball, like a change of pace kind of lineup. I think
But
more of a change of pace.
that no, because you're changing two aspects by doing that. You know what I mean? Because now you have a center playing the four. You know what I mean?
No, I
And
have
you
I
have
have a I have a power forward playing the center position and a power forward coming in to play power forward by putting Obi at the four and Randall at the five.
I'm talking about the bench.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the starting unit. My bad.
I mean, it goes both ways. Is what I'm saying basically. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So what you're asking me is, do I want to have Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel on the floor at the same time? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, because
No, no, no,
if
no.
you're negating that completely, then that means a lot. There's going to be a lot of minute changes done in that aspect.
Yes, I want a lot of minute changes. I would
Mm.
limit some of Mitchell Robinson's minutes. Yes, I would do that. But to have Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson on the floor at the same time, I would stray away from doing that. I like what the Knicks did yesterday by having kind of four guards on the floor with Randall, or like you had RJ at the four. They can start doing that. I really like the small ball lineup. I really do.
So Mitch ultimately becomes damn near situational.
If you want to call it that.
I mean, I mean that's what it sounds like.
If you want to call it that, I think he's that much of a liability offensively.
Mm.
I think he's the reason why
I
our offense
I
has been
I,
struggling as much as it has.
I still can't believe. I still can't believe. You know, you standing on that. As much as you admit it, but you was just there 10 days ago on Noel. You know what I mean? Like, and now you like saying the same thing about Mitch, and I don't get it. Prior to Mitch getting hurt, was that last game or 2 games ago? He got popped in the mouth and didn't return. That was
Uh,
two
two
games
games
ago.
ago.
But
2 games ago.
prior to him getting hurt, he was having a phenomenal game. Um,
Defensively, offensively,
I mean,
Mitchell Robinson's not going to put. Is not going to produce. He's not a production guy. Mitchell Robinson's not putting up any numbers offensively. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Mitchell Robinson is out there for his defense, right? And that's what I'm saying. Nerlens Noel is better than him defensively, and you can even argue Randall is better than him. Well, he is better than him offensively, but I don't think Randall's that far off defensively guarding opposing fives. I really don't think
no,
so.
Mitchell Robinson. Even though I want him with the second unit, he's a game changer wherever he gets his minutes. When he's at his best, or
Oh
you know what I mean,
yeah.
when he's doing what he does, like he's a game changer.
Defensively,
What he does defensively changes the offense. Like it gives you fast break opportunities. It gives you more shot opportunities. So it changes the offense what he does defensively alone. Granted, does he have the capabilities of a Noel or of a Randall at the five? No, but we knew that already. And again, part of that is I think, or I question whether that's him, his capability, or what he's allowed to do. You know what I mean? Like if you're told this is your role, this is what we need you to do to succeed, you're not gonna go outside of that realm until you get it okayed, or until you're in a position where there's one on the shot clock. You know what I mean? And you still might get the turnover rather than take the hook shot or whatever type of jump shot because you don't have the okay to do that.
I've never believed in a player that's supposed to have whatever kind of potential, not show any glimpses on a particular side of the ball. I've said the same thing about RJ Barrett. If RJ Barrett is that dude, like he'll be his style, it'll show. You know what I'm saying? It'll show. Same thing with Mitchell Robinson here. If Mitchell Robinson was more skilled offensively, you would see some glimpses of it. But so far offensively, he's just a second chance, kind of clean it up kind of player. He's not that good of an offensive rebounder. All he is a dunk machine. And teams are taking that away. We haven't been running the alley oop as much because we haven't been getting to the paint because he's
You're,
there.
you're right. You're right. That's the majority of what he's shown. But he can 100% do more. We've seen a little bit of it already this year. We've seen him make moves with his back to the basket this year. I mean, granted, it's off of offensive rebound where he's normally getting a rebound and either going right back up or looking for somebody. But we've seen him put the ball on the floor off an offensive rebound and make an aggressive move, get a N1 and things of that nature. So, honestly, it's more about him getting the okay, in my opinion. I mean,
I'm telling you.
what's your take, Ron?
Go ahead, Ron. Go
And
ahead.
then
Go
I
ahead.
and then
Go
mean,
you
ahead.
and then
Go
and
ahead.
then you.
it's not the most fluid. I will say that he doesn't look fluid. He doesn't look that comfortable on the offensive end. We saw Randall do something I don't think I've seen Randall do. It was a little awkward looking, but it's Randall. Randall did that little move to the left. To the left. Randall was on the left hand side. He moved to the right and did like a little hop, step, awkward carry, gather, jump, hook thing that I've never seen him do. But I'd love to see Mitch try that. And the other thing that I was noticing, guys, and I've only noticed this the past few games or so when Mitch has been out there, I thought Noel's hands were bad. Mitch's hands are pretty bad too. Mitch drops a lot of balls, and I don't
When
know
it's
if it's
low,
because
not when it's
I
high.
know when it's low, yeah, I know, but I'm just like sometimes it's in his stomach area. That's not too low to me. I get it when it's lower than his waist. I mean, come on, I don't know what these guys are doing with these passes. It's kind of crazy, but it goes back to the whole thing that we don't have that orchestrator, that guy who can set our guys up in the right way. You definitely got to throw high passes to your big men. It just makes sense. And you don't throw bullets a la Randall. Like you gotta, you gotta give him a chance to grab the ball. Like, but with Mitch, I'm really frustrated with Mitch. And that's the reason why if there was a chance for us to get a good player in here, and I mean a game changer, I'm not just throwing Mitch away. He could be part of a deal to bring in somebody who's relevant to our team and can help us out. I'm okay with it because I worry about all the times I've seen Mitch do all these nice fancy special moves, spin moves up and under things that I said going through the legs, dribbling, then popping in the paint. I'm like, what? We never seen Mitch do that. And now I think it's even harder for us to see him do it because he's bulked up. He don't look that good on the dribble anymore. Like now he looks like if he puts the ball on the floor, they'll just come take it from him. That worries me a little bit.
I just want to say this is the last thing I'll say about Mitchell Robinson, right? You got to think about who Mitchell Robinson is and how he's been coached, right? I think up until he had Thibodeau, he really hasn't had the best coaching, right? I think we've seen a big improvement in Mitchell Robinson's defense last season. Mitchell Robinson played really good defensively. He was much more disciplined. He didn't get fouls, things of that nature. The reason why the Knicks liked him is because of his athleticism, right? Not because he had skill, but because of his athleticism. Tall, lanky guy that can be able to block shots. Because of his athleticism, him being able to run out to the 3-point line and use that length to block shots. That's the type of player Mitchell Robinson is. Mitchell Robinson is not a skilled player per se, right? Tony, you mentioned him grabbing a rebound and being able to go up strong with the rebound. I'm not talking about that. That's obviously Mitchell Robinson is a big. He's going to grab some rebounds and he's going to be able to go up strong and dunk the ball. I'm not talking about that.
What I'm saying is that was a progressive for him. Like that's something that he usually gives. He doesn't look to put it back up if it's not a putback dunk. You know what I mean? Or going right back up for a dunk. This was an actual over the shoulder move that he did. And got an N1 because he was aggressive, and that's all I'm saying.
Tone, but you're missing my point. I'm not talking about Mitchell Robinson in the paint. In the paint, Mitchell Robinson's going to get his. I'm talking about Mitchell Robinson doing something away from the basket. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Mitchell Robinson being a threat from somewhere else on the floor where he can be able to put the ball on the floor or knock down a jump shot somewhere else. Mitchell Robinson has not been able to do that, and I don't think it's because Tibbs is telling him not to. I think if he had that ability, and I think this offense will be way better. But because he's there, and the way this offense is set up right now, he is a liability on the floor offensively. Because him being in the paint prevents other people from being in there. I think Randall having the ball and attempting to get into the lane, he can't do that because Mitch's man is right there. Randall trying to go baseline or trying to go anywhere with Mitchell Robinson there, he can't do that because he gets double teamed. And it's primarily because Mitchell Robinson is there. But if you had a stretch 5, I think it's a little bit different. If you have a guy who can take that man out to the 3-point line, I think it's a little bit different. So that's what I'm saying about Mitchell Robinson. I know he's improved, but
but we know his limitations, and we also know what he's shown and hasn't shown. But because he hasn't shown something, doesn't mean that he's incapable. It could very well be that's what he's not. That could be not what he's asked to do, and that could also be what he's asked not to do. You know what I mean? Those are two options that could be in play. That I think you're negating completely.
I just don't think he's ever been that player at any level in his career. In high school, he's never been that kind of player to put the ball on the floor, go between his legs, or do anything like that.
In high school, he shot the ball though. And
did he?
If he, yes, 100%.
Beats me. I still. So how come we haven't seen it in the game? You think it's more than a coincidence?
I don't know, but I think I can tell you this: it's less of a chance of us seeing it with Tibbs than it was with what I mean some of the other coaches. You know what I mean? And granted, we didn't see it then either, but it's less of a chance with Tibbs than with some of the other coaches that we had who would have been maybe more encouraging for him to do it. You know what I mean?
So ask yourself this: how come Taj Gibson's allowed to take mid-range jump shots, or Nerlens is allowed to take mid-range jump shots, and Mitchell Robinson's not?
Two veterans that have done it. Tibbs seen him do it before he got there. You can't tell. You think he's scared to shoot? You think
I just don't think that's a part of his game, Tone. I just don't think he's that kind of player. And Mitchell Robinson is an athletic guy who uses his athleticism to win. He doesn't have any type of offensive skill. You're not giving Mitchell Robinson the ball saying,
So you believe the videos and the tweets was him trolling rather than him really saying, I want to shoot this year. And I'm referring to last year. Or you think the videos and the tweets are just him trolling?
I think if it was for real, you'll see at least some of it in the game. Some of it, some type of something. I think Thibodeau is smart enough to realize that if he had a big that could be able to step out just a little bit to knock some shots down, that we can be able to use him. I think Tibbs knows that. He had one in Minnesota.
I think if we get into a position where the game is not on the line, he would let it fly. I don't think Tibbs is gonna give him the green light when we're fighting for seedings, we're fighting for wins. You know what I mean? Like we're not blowing teams out, but let us be in a blowout game, and he has the opportunity. I think he lets it go. I think he's not gonna do it in a pressure situation. I think it's the same type of thing that some rookies get caught up in where they may not feel as free when they're playing in a game where it means something or a moment that means something. You know what I mean? Especially like to introduce it. No, we're not going to see it like that. We got to be
No,
up.
not.
We got to be up big, and it might still have to be a situation where the shot clock is going down. You know what I mean? But and another example, like Noel talked about the three prior to the season. We just saw it last night, the first one, and he's had the opportunity already this year. You know what I mean? So it's also about opportunity. I don't know. I think he's, and I'm not even gonna say he's capable, like shooting 35%, but I think he should do it. I think he should try it.
I haven't seen Mitchell Robinson, a play design that the Knicks ran when Mitchell Robinson was in the corner. I've never seen it.
I agree.
But we see Nerlens Noel in the corner.
That one play that he shot the three?
There's been a lot of plays when Nerlens Noel's been in the corner.
How many times has he shot it?
It doesn't matter about shooting the ball, Tone. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter about him necessarily shooting. It's about him being a threat from out there. Being a threat.
You're right. But think about it. If Mitch is in the corner, right, like any play, right, is his defender going to follow him there? No, his defender's going to stay right there at the rim, protecting the rim. So even if he goes to the corner at this point, it's not going to be beneficial.
Tone, it's because
it's not going to help. It's not going to help.
It's because he's not a threat, and I know you're trying to equate the two about him actually taking it and him just lining up out there. But Mitchell Robinson is not a stretch five. He's just not that kind of player. He's an athletic guy with no skill. Mitchell Robinson's not putting the ball on the floor. He can't even hit free throws.
Here's the thing. Yeah, you're right. But you know what? Mitch Robinson seems to be a better free throw shooter in previous years with us. He seems to be regressing with his free throw shooting. Not that he was that great, but I'm just saying his numbers have gotten a little worse. I think Mitch wants to be an offensive type player. I think he wants to work on stuff. I think he doesn't do it just to mess around. I think he's been trying to do it, but you know what? He sees Tibbs is not respecting it. It's not enough of a stretch for him to.
And that's my point.
Right. It's he's not doing enough of it
He's
to
not
show him
incapable. That's
something.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think you know what happened is I think look, somebody talked to Mitch and somebody smart talked to Mitch, maybe it was Kenny Payne or whoever, and said, "Look, young blood, you are in a contract year. You're trying to get your money. Instead of worrying about offense where Tibbs is not recognizing you for that, why don't you go out there and try to become one of the best defensive players in the league?" And I think that's why he came in this year, bulked up, and said, "You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do that because I want to get paid too. I want to get recognized and I want to get paid." So I think he's just changed his philosophy about what he wants to do. But I
I think
do think
those
he
are.
wants to
I
be
think
able to
those are.
score.
I think those are independent from each other, though. I think being
No,
a guy who can be a threat. Hold on. I think him being a threat offensively is different than him being someone who's bulked up to be able to defend bigger guys. I think those are two totally different things. You can. I think you can be able to do both. I think you can do.
Hmm.
he gave the correlation though. If he's being told, which is what I said, and you know, I mean, he's saying Kenny Payne. I'm saying maybe Tibbs. I don't know who's telling, but he's saying he's being told this is what we want from you. If you're being told this is what I want from you, and basically deterred to do anything else. Focus on this because this gives us the best chance. You're not gonna go out of what is asked to do something that might get you benched, might lose playing time, might affect your line position in the rotation. You know what I mean? Affects your money long term. Like all of these things are factors. To just say he's not capable,
So I guess
I
I'll just say one last thing about Mitchell Robinson. 'Cause I know we've been going on about this. Um, I struggle with the notion that someone on the Knicks coaching staff told Mitchell Robinson, "We don't want you to diversify your offensive game because that doesn't make the team better." That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I'm gonna say to
they
you,
could say work on it and not encourage him to use it
Come
at this
on, Tom.
particular moment.
I'm gonna say that maybe they didn't discourage him from working on his offensive game, but I think they put the point of emphasis on getting better defensively. You see this roster, the Knicks organization knows what they got here. They know they were going to be better on the perimeter. I'm sure they wanted Mitch to get better on the defensive end to kind of help them with what they got going on. So I'm sure that someone talked to him about the defensive side of things. But yeah, I don't think they said,
We'll
"Yo, don't
see.
take no offensive shots." I'm not going to say they said that, but I just think that they obviously told him what to focus on. And you know the other thing that set Mitch back is the fact that he's been hurt all this time. A lot of fun things that you
Mm-hmm.
can do to work on in the off season, he couldn't really do. He couldn't even move his legs. He could only hold the ball in his hands and shoot like you can't like he ain't a good shooter to be doing that. Somebody like a Reggie Miller, somebody could shoot from this from a chair and start knocking them down. You know what I mean? Like I just don't see where he could have grown in this offseason. I think next year maybe we might see something offensive from Mitch, depending on where he is, because I'm not sure he'll be on the Knicks. But he needs some time, and he needs to be worked with by somebody who knows how to train a big in the scoring. If it's not Kenny Payne, it's got to be somebody else. He needs like more help.
Yeah, we'll see.
Elijah Wan.
Yeah, everybody
Give,
gets that
give,
Elijah Wan camp at one point.
give him a bag.
Facts.
Give him a
Let
bag
Mitch get his money and give some of that to Elijah Wan.
and say,
We'll
look,
see.
I want one low post move and one outside move, one outside the paint move.
And a baby hook, man. He's so tall and long with that wingspan. A baby hook works good for that type of center. A baby hook would
Uh,
be great for him.
then you got to get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to give him some lessons
Or Kevin
because
Duckworth. No, no, I
I don't
don't.
understand how nobody utilized that man all these years.
Right, right.
Yeah, this has been fun. Who we got next? The Lakers, right?
Yep.
The Lake Show. LeBron's out.
Ugh, man, I just hope we put it together. I hope we put it together during this stretch. During this stretch, it was definitely some encouraging things that I've seen last game and the last couple of games. I think the ball movement has improved. It's just still a little bit choppy, but the effort in the ball movement is absolutely there. Multiple efforts. We just got to start hitting shots again. Um, I also want us to. I think we steered away from 3-point shooting being the reason of us losing games. We're not living and dying by the three. We're learning how to do other things offensively, which I think is a great thing because the shots aren't gonna fall every night. But ultimately, man, I think we're still in a good position. Um, this is a crucial stretch. If we could come out and win like maybe 5 of the next 8, I think we are right, and I think it's possible. But I appreciate you guys. I know we got Queens Court at 8:30, so I'm sure I'll see most of the guys in the chat there as well. Um, I don't you both of you guys are going on Queens Court.
I'll be there.
I'll be there in spirit. I'm gonna try to watch from my phone, but I'm recording still Nick fans at 9. So
No doubt, no doubt.
No doubt. No
Well, I
doubt.
appreciate you joining me. I'll look forward to your next video, and shout out to the chat as always. Your blackest time. See y'all on the Queens Court. Peace.